full of.
Joe?
What?
Rolling.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic podcast number.
We got.
What the hell?
Oh, no. Do we have a crisis?
No.
Oh.
1264.
Let's go.
Let me note that on the sheet.
Out the door, 1264.
1264. March 13th, 2024. 67 degrees on this day in 2012. When I remember the golf courses were all open by St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 9 below on this day in 1895. And on this day,
March 13th,
in 2006, 10 inches of snow back when we used to have winter.
Come on. Don't
10
say
inches
it.
of snow in 2006. Yep.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
From Bill Stein up in Aiken, we get news that in the earliest ice out date ever on record, the entire Puss Lake chain, and consisting of Upper Puss, Middle Puss, Lard, and Lower Puss, was declared ice-free on March 10th.
All right.
It's the only ice out of the day.
Great.
And as long as I'm have this in front of me.
Have we ever thought about renaming the lakes?
Because of bad pus?
I went by one yesterday, Reavers, and every time I go by it, my anger level skyrockets. It used to be called Mud Lake.
No.
Coolest lake name ever.
Yeah.
These tree-hugging panty waste renamed it Golden Pond.
No.
And it's an S-hole.
I got
It's
it.
an absolute S-hole, and they renamed it Golden Pond. It's so disgusting.
That's pretty stupid.
God, that makes me
In
mad.
fact, that should get the double, shouldn't it?
Do you guys want something interesting to do on St. Patrick's Day? Sunday, March 17th.
I already know what I'm doing, but go ahead. Entice me.
2:30 p.m. at the Church of St. Joseph in West St. Paul. Stephen C. With Pat Donahue.
Oh.
And with Gillian Anderson. And,
What?
And Jack Cassidy and Doug Nelson. It's going to be similar to the Christmas shows at the cathedral. He'll have his favorite melodies of all time from the Stephen C. solo piano treatment, joined by Pat Donahue, Gillian Anderson, Catherine Boodzian, Jack Cassidy, and Doug Nelson. This will be the best of the classical, folk, sacred, and inspirational pop genres. And Stephen C. told me the church was telling him no Irish drinking songs, but the first song Donahue wants to do is the Irish blues. So, so they'll have a good time.
We'll see how that goes.
Where do you get tickets? Where do you get tickets?
It's free, isn't it? You show up, I think.
Bring a canned good.
It's free. No registration required.
None?
You don't even have to bring a can of food.
Come on.
Just show up.
Well,
That's pretty good.
Bring a can of Chef Boyardee for Stephen.
Yeah,
He'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
Meant to get to it yesterday and did not. There's a follow-up in, I believe, today's paper. Returning to that story of a gal named Kathy Cargill, who's married to one of the Cargill family, who's been buying up land on Park Point in Duluth.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest is the mayor of Duluth, Roger Reinert, is attempting to assure the public that they'll continue to have access to Park Point. It's a very nice beach there, and she remains somewhat silent. Not somewhat. She remains silent about the plans and what's taking place. But what's beginning to really intrigue me is watching, and not that Reinert was a ray of hope that he got elected over Emily Larson. He's fairly rational as a Democrat.
But get to it.
But it's very interesting to watch the Mysterians dealing with what is remaining of our private sector capitalism in this country. They don't know what the hell to do. And they want meetings, and they feel that they should have a hand in it somehow, and they really aren't entitled to whatsoever.
And the more time that goes by and the less that she says, the more up in arms they are. It's just so fantastic.
And nobody knows what the plans are, but with a apparently an unlimited source of income, Kathy Cargill just keeps buying up homes. Now, you don't have to sell.
Right.
You don't have to sell to her. And the mayor's been telling people that.
And she's been buying it at twice the value. Right. She's been spending huge coin.
You live in one of those drafty cottages, and she comes along with a great big offer. You might be tempted.
It's the day you've been waiting for since you bought that asshole back in the late 60s.
Yep.
But now I can't get enough of the story because the city hall types are agog. They don't know what the hell's going on. How can somebody be doing this without our involvement? We should be telling them what the future of Park Point's going to be. It's going to be a place of respite and wellness. And, that's one of the rumors, by the way. That's one of the rumors, and it's strictly a rumor.
Well,
that what they want to develop there, what Kathy might want to develop there, and I have no idea. I wish she'd talk to us. For car guys. Come on, Kathy, I admire your McLarens.
Don't start pulling a mayor of Duluth bit here.
What?
Let her be.
Oh, no, I know. But one of the rumors is to build some sort of, a retreat as a hedge against climate change.
Oh, see, now you're disappointing me, Joe. You're falling into the trap that the real mayor of Duluth and all these bigwigs have fallen into, which is wild speculation. And that's what's driving them crazy. And now you're falling into that trap. Let her be. Let her go. It's her money. Who cares?
Well, it's not wide enough to be a track. It can't be a racetrack.
You're still speculating. You got to control that.
All right.
What have you been smoking crack or something?
You know what?
Chill, brother.
Never mind.
I love this story so much because these people are so up in arms, and she's not saying anything, but she's paying twice the value of the property. I just love it.
It isn't even that they're up in arms. It's that they just, with the Mysterians has come a sense of extraordinary entitlement, and they think they run the show.
Give it to me. What's your speculation? What are you thinking?
You just told me not to do that.
I want to hear it. I got to hear it. I got to know.
The best rumor I've heard is the climate change retreat. Somehow these idiots have themselves thinking that somehow there won't be climate change in Duluth. There'll only be 20 miles down the road, there'll be climate change.
So Superior won't go up
like
6 feet.
Because this thing is about an inch above the sea, above the lake level.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going on, but I love the byplay between the Mysterians who've never been outside City Hall and have no idea what work is or money. They're suddenly confronted by a billionaire who walks in and starts buying houses right and left, and their heads are spinning. They don't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting story.
It's great spectating. I love it. I'm actually collecting stories about it. It's so enjoyable.
Now we have a lawsuit that isn't that new, but it's back in the news, where Keith Ellison is alleging Fleet Farm violated the state gun control act when it sold firearms to straw buyers. But there's a bit of a hiccup here. The straw buyers passed every known test to man. They passed FBI background checks, and they have a permit. They walk into Fleet Farm, and they're perfectly legal to buy a weapon. How is Fleet Farm supposed to know that they were going to become bad guys by going out and selling the guns?
Is Keith Ellison alleging that they should have profiled here? That would be bad, right? Profiling? Isn't there a DEI thing about that?
Yeah. In an unrelated case in December, the state Supreme Court clarified that the Attorney General can enforce a broad scope of laws concerning unfair, discriminatory, and other unlawful practices in business, commerce, or trade. The state's Gun Control Act regulates the relationship and duties among businesses, their customers, and the general public so as to fall under the umbrella of laws that Ellison's office can enforce. What is there to enforce? How is the clerk at Fleet Farm? He checks everything he's supposed to check. It all checks out. It's not the clerk at Fleet Farm's fault that the guy goes out and becomes a bad guy.
Right.
It's the you should have known law.
There is no such thing.
Ellison has not alleged that Fleet Farm store ever failed to require a customer to complete a federally required paperwork for the firearms transactions, nor did it claim Fleet Farm sold firearms without receiving the go-ahead from the FBI's background check system.
He's just convinced he needs somebody to sue.
That's all it is. And I think Fleet Farm was just picked out of a hat because it was discovered that one or more of the firearms that they sold this guy, who I believe has pled guilty or admitted guilt, ended up being used actually in that truck park crime.
Plaintiff alleges nothing about Fleet Farm's firearm policies in either the operative complaint or the proposed amended complaint. Instead, plaintiff contends Fleet Farm should be held civilly liable for unspecified societal harms based on the foreseeable criminal conduct that purportedly followed from firearm sales to two individuals, Sarah Elwood and Jerome Horton. Let me stop right there.
Stop.
Those two, by the way, have since been convicted in federal crime cases.
Yep.
Let me stop right there. If this is just another way the mystery is attempting to end capitalism, how can you live in a society that's capitalistic if you're to be held responsible for unknown or unspecified societal harms? How can you sell a car?
The accidental link I made in my head, speaking of cars, was the city of Minneapolis and Hyundais.
Yeah.
That was the link
How do you sell anything that could be harmful? How do you sell a snowblower? What if Sam Smithson stuck his hand in there again?
Yeah.
Oh, I
It
do
wasn't
that
his
all the
hand.
time
It
to
wasn't his
unclog it.
hand.
No,
My
it was
foot.
his unit. It was his swimsuit area.
Oh, that's a little weird.
He's out looking for that thing like the Winter Carnival
Winter
medallion.
I mean, I love my snowblower, but come on.
No, but what kind of life are we supposed to lead with these people like Keith Ellison, who is pointless? Fleet Farm should be held civilly liable for unspecified societal harms based on unforeseeable. So they're saying it's unspecified and unforeseeable, but we're still holding you responsible. Well, the only conclusion Fleet Farm can reach is to not sell guns,
Right.
which would be the goal of the Mysterians.
That's the goal. Yep. And next it'll be the other big box outdoor stores that, sell firearms and ammunition. Nobody's safe from this lawsuit, at least not in Minnesota. And if he wins, it sets precedent for other states.
Match manufacturers will have to stop selling matches.
Oh, it's your wildest dreams, Joe. Anything and everything is now liable.
There's been an unusual and unfortunate number of fires in the Twin Cities this year.
Yeah.
And so where's Keith Ellison to sue match manufacturers? These are unspecified and unforeseeable criminal conducts that's arisen from the manufacture of the matches. What the hell is he going to do?
This is just another cog in the banning guns movement is all this is. That's why they don't go after these other things. The end goal is getting rid of guns, getting rid of your right to own firearms.
Well, let's dovetail in here. Let's do some dovetailing. Let's do some dovetailing.
How do we dovetail?
We now, in addition to not wanting to enforce minimum sentencing for gun control, for gun crimes, they'd rather create more laws. They'd rather go after Fleet Farm for an unspecified and unforeseen problem than to make sure the kid who illegally shoots a gun gets a minimum sentence.
And you know what?
Because that's not equitable.
What's funny is they shut the comments off of that Fleet Farm story
Yeah.
on the Star Tribune's website.
But now we have a proposed bill from Representative Cedric Frazier, DFL New Hope. He's the House sponsor of the bill as part of an ongoing effort to pass reforms in the criminal justice system. He wants to. He's the guy that doesn't want mandatory minimum sentences. And now they want to do a deal where juveniles, the age of juveniles is raised to 21.
Nope.
So now you have until 21 to commit a lot of gun crimes without any consequences. Right now it's 18.
They're throwing them both at us at the same time. Isn't that convenient?
Yeah, let's see if Cedric's. Yes, he is. A new bill aims to expand the age of a juvenile accused of a crime from 18 to 21. We're trying to line up what the science tells us.
Cedric Adams is at the base of the mystery here.
Frazier.
Frazier, I'm sorry. Where'd I get Adams?
Cedric Adams was the old WCCO newsman who lived on his cruiser on Lake Minnetonka in the summer.
I think that cracker was probably harmless, except for his nieces and nephews. Who knows what happened?
Had a bottle in the office back in those days. A new Minnesota bill aims to expand the age of a juvenile to 21. We're trying to line up what the science tells us and what the data tells us with how our systems work, how our criminal justice system works, and how we're dealing with our young people. This is Cedric Frazier, DFL New Hope. Frazier cites science that says our brains aren't fully developed. This is a Mary Moriarty BS. Our brains aren't fully developed until well into our 20s. And yet, but a kid that's 6 knows that he should be changing gender.
Yeah, well, there's exceptions to every rule, Joe. Come on, man.
Okay.
Jeez, whatever.
You bunch of phonies, you frauds. Oh, you're just such disingenuous frauds.
Okay,
members of law enforcement say young people know right from wrong and that you can't be selective when applying that kind of science.
These guys are all scientists.
Yeah, suddenly it's science now. Science would have to explain to me why you're okay if you make a great decision. Let's say join one of our armed forces at 18. Then that's a great decision. But if you go out and murder somebody, well, your brain's not developed yet.
Oh,
that's Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt saying. So somebody is going to have to teach me, show me why it's different when it's a bad decision versus a good decision. And here's my man Booker Hodges comes into play. It says the science-based reasoning is forgetting the victims of these crimes. I think Booker's being polite. The science-based reasoning is a bunch of B as in B, S as in S. A lot of the arguments they make for a lot of these typically are racial disparity-based arguments. This is my man Booker. He's a black guy. He sees right through this BS. The issue is they never talk about the disparities in the victims. We're always talking about the people who commit these crimes. A committee has not heard the bill. To think of a 20-year-old as a child, that's a tough hurdle for most of us to get over, said Hodges. Racial disparities have nothing to do with this. This is about what's right and wrong. And this is an African-American sheriff, Dewana Witt, saying this. So, see, there's a great war between the mystery and law enforcement. We're seeing that play out every day. There's a great, great war between the mystery and law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Look at the way Mary Moriarty is handling Ryan Londegren. That's a battle. That's a war. She's declared war on law enforcement, and so is Cedric Frazier. Let's raise minimum age for a juvenile to 20. Let's not have any minimum sentences for gun crimes, because that doesn't reflect equity. These people are nuts. They're nuts. They don't want a good life. They don't want a good life for everybody.
Trying to wrap so juvenile commits a gun crime, gets sentenced to jail, and that time in jail does that juvenile more harm to him than it does good for us and or the victims of his crime. Is that what I'm seeing?
I think you're on the right track.
We need to get Booker.
Never mind the kid he shot.
Right. Or the family or the survivors or We need to talk to Booker for at least an hour.
I've actually put out a request for that.
Yeah, let's do that.
I know somebody that knows somebody. So
Well,
hopefully
I
we'll
don't,
have him on soon.
Booker, I've never seen Booker too terribly frightened of a microphone. I don't think it would be difficult to get him on.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's just be nice.
I
Let's
am
be
being
polite.
nice. He's a
I know, in your own-
straightforward guy.
In your own way.
He's not frightened of a microphone. All right.